What's up, Premiere Pro users? Welcome to the second ever Week in Premiere video podcast. Week in Premiere is the Premiere Pro Week in Review, a curation of Premiere Pro news, tips, and tutorials, which I gather from social media, and every Friday I put it into a written post up on my blog, premierebro.com. which obviously I recommend you check out every week because it has a lot of helpful Premiere Pro information that is not only relevant but super current, and it's from people like you and me, our peers, fellow Premiere Pro editors. I just want to say real quick before we get started, thanks to all those that checked out last week's Week in Premiere, the inaugural Week in Premiere video podcast. I think I got 200 views in 1 week, which honestly is 199 more than I thought I would get. So thanks for taking the time to watch that. As you can imagine, this is a very exciting week in Premiere with the release of Premiere Pro CC 2015.3. So let's go ahead and get started. First up, Premiere Pro news. The breaking headlines from last week ending on June 24th, 2016. Let's see what we got. Of course, this week in Premiere's biggest headline is the release of Premiere Pro CC 2015.3. That's right, 2016 is already more than halfway over, and yet Adobe decides to call the latest release of Premiere Pro CC 2015.3. Which kind of begs the question, just how off the hook is CC 2016 going to be? But we're getting way ahead of ourselves already. There's so many good things in CC 2015.3, and we're going to hit them all in this week in Premiere. Before we get too deep into the nitty-gritty features of Premiere Pro CC 2015, it's important to point out that it's not recommended that you update your working Premiere Pro project files to the latest version. And I say that intentionally because I feel like some people get swept away by the fear of updating. You can have multiple versions of Premiere Pro living on your system. It's only when you update the project files to the latest version of Premiere Pro that any work, any edits that you do after that point, you will be unable to roll back to a previous version. So if you update a project file and you do a lot of work, only to find that some essential extension or plugin stopped working in the latest release, you won't be able to roll back to a previous version, and that can cause you a lot of headaches. The key is when you go to update that you uncheck the box that is checked by default that removes previous versions of Premiere Pro. And this week, Mike of Rocket Pencil Productions teaches us how to do that in a video tutorial. So check this out. Make sure that you keep previous versions of Premiere Pro installed, especially if you're working and have working edits ongoing. This is something you want to do. Thanks, Mike, for sharing this tip. Great video. All right, let's get into it. This week, there are 3 videos that I'm recommending that you check out to get a good grip on all things Premiere Pro CC 2015.3. And this first video is by Dave Helmley. Now, every major release of Premiere Pro, Dave usually puts out a summary video, and this release is no different. Dave is an Adobe employee. He has a long job title, which I don't remember. Suffice it to say, he's top brass at Adobe, and he knows his stuff. Now, Dave in this video goes over all the major features of Premiere Pro CC 2015.3, but I'm going to call out one in particular. Dave does an excellent job explaining the new proxy workflows in Premiere Pro CC 2015.3. So if you're looking to get a detailed and thorough explanation of how to generate and attach proxies, and even learn how to add a watermark to your proxy files so you can visually distinguish those proxy files from your original source media, Dave goes through all of that. So I highly recommend you check out this video to learn the new proxy workflows in Premiere Pro CC 2015.3. The second video I recommend you check out comes from Josh of Retooled.net. And just like Dave, Josh puts out his own video alongside every Premiere Pro release. The only difference is Josh usually tackles the smaller or less sexy features, if you will. And in this video, Josh goes real deep into some of the more finer details of Premiere Pro CC 2015.3. He gets into stuff like generating audio waveforms and the new keyframing commands and keyboard shortcuts. So between Dave's video and Josh's video, you're going to get a really good overview of the major and the minor features inside Premiere Pro CC 2015. The third and final video I recommend you check out comes from Tim Dashwood. Tim is the man behind Dashwood 3D, which is a company that makes some pretty sick 3D and 360 plugins. So definitely check that out. But anyway, in this video, Tim demystifies the new VR capability inside Premiere Pro CC 2015.3. And he looks at several examples, several articles that kind of have some misleading language about the new VR capability. And basically, Tim explains that this new tool is a viewer. It's not meant for editing 360 video or applying, effects. It's meant for viewing 360 or VR video. And that's it. Now, that's not to minimize at all the significance of this feature, because in my mind, this is Adobe continuing to provide Creative Cloud subscribers with the latest cutting edge tools to tell their stories. So I see this still as a huge leap forward, especially compared to other NLEs. But it is true, there is some language out there that is, it can easily confuse some people. And Tim does an awesome job dispelling that and clarifying some of the confusion around this new capability inside Premiere Pro. Moving on from the release of Premiere Pro CC 2015.3, we have Audio Network, which is a royalty-free stock music library. And they've put out an invitation to try their new Premiere Pro panel. Now, I'll say right up front, I myself haven't had an opportunity to try this out yet. But I'm assuming, just based on what I've read and seen, that this new panel integrates their library right inside Premiere Pro. So you can browse their music tracks and license their stuff right within Premiere Pro. And again, I haven't personally tried this out, but you can bet your butt that I will be doing that very soon. And you can expect to hear more from me on this cool new Premiere Pro panel. And rounding out this week in Premiere's Premiere Pro news is yours truly, Premiere Bro, with yet another initiative. And this one is called Stock Edits, which is stock footage and stock music edited together in Premiere Pro, obviously. Edited together with promotional and educational intent. And I'm making these stock edits for 3 reasons quickly. 1, it satisfies my own personal creative pursuits. 2, it allows me to promote companies and brands that I love. And 3, most importantly, I get to inform and expose the Premiere Pro user community to a lot of cool products. So yes, stock edits is totally about promotion, and the companies that I feature in these videos have given me access to their tools for free. But time is money, and I wouldn't waste my time or my money on promoting products that I did not feel offered value to the Premiere Pro user community. So that's my disclaimer. Anyway, this week we have the first ever stock edit, and this one is just a 30-second surfing montage-y type of thing. with a lot of cool hypnotic effects and transitions. And this video is made awesome by Rampant Designs Rampant Premiere Essentials. And these are 120 drag and drop effect presets just for Premiere Pro. There's a lot of cool bumps and shakes and jitters, and you can use them as visual effects or transitions. It's 29 bucks. So check it out. It's totally worth the investment. We have music by Muserk, M-U-S-E-R-K. Go Muserk. I had a lot of fun using their Premiere Pro panel. I was able to browse their extensive library and license music all within Premiere Pro. It was a really cool way to work, with stock music. And I love their library selection. They have a lot of great tracks. Obviously, if you listen to the music in this video, it's pretty groovy. And finally, most obviously, we have Adobe stock footage. And let me just say, if you're a Premiere Pro user and you're not using Adobe stock for your stock photo and stock footage needs, just shame on you. I mean, it's one of the best stock libraries on the internet integrated into Premiere Pro. There's no reason not to use this in conjunction with the libraries panel in Premiere Pro. So thanks for watching. I hope you do. It's just a short video, and be on the lookout for more stock edits in the future. Thanks. All right, on to Premiere Pro tips. Let's take a look at what Premiere Pro users had to say about their favorite NLE, Premiere Pro, in 140 characters or less. And I guess that's not including images. Let's dive right in. First Premiere Pro tip comes from Premiere Pro World. And just a quick reminder, Premiere Pro World has combined with After Effects World into Adobe Video World. And you can check out this awesome event at adobevideoworld.com. I highly recommend you check it out because I think it's the best Adobe video training event you can go to. And you can hit me up if you want to know why. I'll be happy to tell you. Anyway, this first tip is part of a series that Premiere Pro World is running. Every Monday they're going to be sharing a new Premiere Pro tip. So look for more Premiere Pro World tips in future weekend premieres. Anyway, this week they say, working with multicam, press FF to go back to the original shot. And what they're talking about here is match framing. Now when you're working with a multicam clip in the timeline and you press F, it'll load the multicam clip at the point of the playhead up into the source monitor. But if you press F twice, it'll load the original source clip up into the source monitor. So this is a really cool keyboard shortcut to jump back to the original footage that's inside the multicam clip. Really sweet tip. And next up we have a tip from Carl Soul. This is actually the second week in Premiere in a row that Carl has been featured, and I still don't know how to say his last name. So anyway, Carl tweets out, tip, in project settings, check the box at the bottom of the general tab to keep bin labels and timeline color labels in sync. Now, this might seem counterintuitive, but by default, Premiere Pro keeps label colors in the project panel separate from in the timeline. In other words, you can have a clip or a bin and the label color is, say, orange. Well, in the timeline you can change that color to green. So in the timeline it'll be green, and that same clip or sequence in the project panel will be orange. And this is totally a preference thing. Some editors prefer this. But Carl here points out you can make Premiere Pro keep those label colors in sync. So under the project settings, there's the general tab, and at the bottom there's a box, and you can check that box, and Premiere Pro will keep all those label colors consistent throughout your project and your timeline. So thanks, Carl, for the sweet tip. Here's a really sweet Premiere Pro tip from Johnny Elwin. See if you're like me. I did not know this. Johnny here tweets out, handy Premiere Pro tip. Alt-click on the twirl down arrows to open, close every bin and sub-bin at once. So if you're in the project panel and you alt-click on the twirl down arrow of a bin, it will open that bin and all the sub-bins inside of it. So you'll be able to see all the contents all at once. That's a pretty cool tip. It makes it real easy to see everything within a bin. Great tip, Johnny. Thanks for teaching me that one. And next up we have another hashtag map this shortcut tip from Dylan Osborne. This is a series of custom keyboard shortcut tips that Dylan has been sharing throughout the month of June. And this week he says, hashtag map this shortcut to your Premiere Pro keyboard. Overlays and overlay settings toggle and manage your monitor info. Map shift backslash and shift command backslash. Now overlays are a tutorial unto themselves. Suffice it to say, overlays are track or clip or sequence information that you can get this overlay on top of your source or program monitor. And Dylan here recommends that you map shift backslash to toggle overlays on and off, and then shift command backslash to bring up the overlay settings where you can customize that overlay information. Thanks, Dylan. Keep up the hashtag map this shortcut series coming, baby. Up next we have another map this shortcut tip from Dylan Osborne, and he says, new Premiere Pro 2015.3, add or remove audio or video keyframes. And this works in the timeline and the effect controls panel. Mine are Control K and Control Option K. So in Premiere Pro CC 2015.3, we now have the ability to add or remove keyframes in the timeline and in the effect controls panel with a custom keyboard shortcut. And Dylan here recommends Control K and Control Option K to do that. So this is a sweet map this shortcut tip. Thank you for sharing, Dylan. Keep it up. Next Premiere Pro tip comes from Clint Till, and he says, hashtag Premiere Pro tip. Hold shift and click the lock icon next to a track in the sequence to lock or unlock all tracks at once. So if you're needing to lock or unlock all your video or all your audio tracks, there's no reason to go down the list of tracks clicking on every lock icon. If you hold shift and you click any one of those locks, it'll lock all the audio or all the video tracks at once. Great tip, Clint. Appreciate it. And finally, in last place, we have yours truly, Premiere Bro, with another Premiere Pro hashtag Tip Tuesday. So every Tuesday, I share a default Premiere Pro keyboard shortcut. And this week, we have the letter E, which is for extend selected edit point to playhead. So if you select an edit point and you press E, it'll snap that edit point to the playhead, whether it's forwards or backwards, depending on where the playhead is. Now just remember, when you do this, it will actually honor the trim type that you have selected. So go ahead and give it a shot and see how you like it. And this rounds out this week in Premiere's tips. Moving right along, we've got a lot of cool Premiere Pro tutorials in this week in Premiere. So let's go ahead and dive right in. First Premiere Pro tutorial is actually a series of 5 Premiere Pro tutorials, and these come from filmmaker and Adobe trainer Abba Shapiro. And you can find these tutorials on the official Adobe Premiere Pro CC Learn and Support page. Now these 5 tutorials have to do with editing DSLR video in Premiere Pro. And Abba does an excellent job introducing you to the interface and the panels and how you edit in Premiere Pro. And he goes on to get specific with editing slideshows and time lapses. So whether you're just starting out or if you have some experience with DSLR video, this is a great resource for how to take it into Premiere Pro and edit your DSLR video. Big thanks to Abba for turning me on to this, and as always, great work. Next up, we have a written blog post by Jason Boone, and this is for the premium beat blog, The Beat. And just because this is only the second week in Premiere video podcast, I have to say that this is one of the coolest post-production blogs out there. Definitely check it out. So this week, Jason Boone goes in depth into the Premiere Pro tools. And we're talking about those tools that live on the side of the timeline panel. We're talking about the hand tool and the zoom tool and those different trim tools like slip and slide and snake and ladders. Just kidding. Those last two don't exist. But anyway, this is a great blog post for someone that's new to Premiere Pro. This is a great introduction to the tools that you have there. Even if you are experienced in Premiere Pro, give this blog post a quick read through. See if you're not missing anything. Jason does an excellent job showing what these tools do. So thanks, Jason. Appreciate the contribution to the Premiere Pro user community. In this next Premiere Pro tutorial, we have Motion Array, a stock library company with a lot of cool After Effects and Premiere Pro templates and a lot of other cool stuff, a lot of free stuff. Anyway, they put up a tutorial on how to create this animating glass panel effect in Premiere Pro. Normally this is something you would see and think, oh, that was done in After Effects. Well, Motion Array shows you how to do it in Premiere Pro. And it's hard to describe. I'm going to do my best, but picture a piece of diagonal glass that has distorted the image below it and it moves across the screen. It's just something that gives your look a lot of class. Not glass, class. And this is something I would recommend for, like products or landscape shots or, like wedding. It would be great in a wedding video. Anyway, watch this, see what you can learn. It's a cool looking effect. Thanks, Motion Array, for sharing. Next up, we have another tutorial from Rocket Pencil Productions, featured earlier in this week in Premiere. I guess Mike must have gotten on a roll this week with Premiere Pro, and that's a good thing. So this week, in a written blog post, Mike teaches us how to do speed ramps using Premiere Pro's time remapping, which in simple terms is basically adding keyframes to increase or decrease the speed of your clips. And this is a great blog post. It's easy to read, and there's a lot of cool animated GIFs, so it's very, very easy to follow along with Mike. So thanks for sharing this, Mike. Really appreciate it. Next up, we have a video tutorial from Matt Klassner, or Klassener. Matt, sorry if I'm mispronouncing her last name. But Matt teaches us how to back up a Premiere Pro project using the project manager. Now, I usually call this archival, but it's half in one, 6 dozen in the other. The important thing is using the project manager, and Matt teaches us how to do this. The project manager is a place where you can make all kinds of selections as far as what you want to back up, how you want to back it up, and where you want to back it up. So watch the tutorial and make sure you make archival and backup part of your editing workflow. Next, we have what could possibly be the first 360/VR tutorial featuring the new VR preview mode inside Premiere Pro CC 2015.3. And this comes from Solomon Jagwe, or Jagwe. Solomon, I'm sorry, last names are really brutal in this episode of Week in Premiere, so hit me up if you need to correct me on the pronunciation of your last name. Anyway, Solomon does a really great job showing all the features of the new VR workflow inside of Premiere. And if you're looking for more information on what it is, how it works, and some of the different settings you can adjust, this is a great tutorial to watch. Thanks, Solomon, for sharing with the rest of us. And rounding up this week in Premiere's Premiere Pro tutorials, we have a video tutorial from Twitter user and YouTuber Babais1337. That's Babais 1337. Who teaches us how to add transitions in Adobe Premiere Pro CC. And this is a great basic Premiere Pro tutorial, perfect for someone who's new to the concept of transitions and transitions specifically in Premiere Pro CC. So I recommend this if you're just starting out. It's a great tutorial, very easy to follow. Thank you for sharing, Mr. Babais1337. And this concludes the second ever Week in Premiere video podcast. If you made it this far, thank you so much for listening. If you skipped to the end, I'm still grateful because it means you took the time to check this out, and that means a lot. I hope you learned something about Premiere Pro, or at least found something cool to follow, because that's what it's all about, promoting Premiere Pro and Premiere Pro users. As I mentioned last week, I'm still finding my bearings as far as this whole video podcast thing. I want to say specifically thanks to Adobe Spark Video for making the recording and presentation of this podcast possible. I highly recommend you check out Adobe Spark Video, the mobile app and the web app. It's a lot of fun to use and definitely streamlines this whole Week in Premiere video podcast assembly. So once again, this is Premiere Bro with the Week in Premiere video podcast. Thank you for listening.